Hello. In this video, we are going to walk through how to receive items for a purchase order. So here we've issued a purchase order. The vendor has shipped it, and now it's at our receiving dock, ready to be brought into our warehouse. So the next logical step here is to click Enter PO Receipt. And what this does is this automatically creates a new purchase receipt. As you notice, the receipt number is set to new right now. But once we go ahead and click the Save button, it's going to automatically generate our purchase number. A couple things to note about the purchase receipt screen. So this only deals with quantity. So you will not see any sort of prices. You will not see any sort of costs. You will only see the total quantity, both at the header level as well as at the line level down here. If you needed to change the date for whatever reason, you could change the date right here. If you needed to change the particular location from the vendor that this is being shipped from, you would change that up here. And then down here at the line details, this is going to bring in automatically all of the items from the purchase order. If there's multiple items and you were just receiving, say one line, you would go ahead and click the X to delete one of the rows should you need to. Right here, we have our warehouse. So if you needed to change the warehouse that you're receiving into, you would go ahead here and you could do a lookup to bring these into a different warehouse. Let's say that you wanted to change the location that these were being brought into. Inside of that warehouse, you would change that here. Here we have the transaction description, which is going to be the item description that we're working with. We have our unit of measure. And the next thing to note is the receipt quantity. So this here is where you're going to enter how many you are bringing into your inventory. So if they shipped you 9, you would put in 9 here. If they shipped you 11, you would put in 11 here, or whatever the case might be. Now, let's say in this example, they only ship you 9. So we can go ahead and enter 9. And as we see here, this changes the open quantity to 1, and our receipt quantity changes to 9. I'm going to go ahead and save this record. And now, once I go ahead and release this document, we are not able to make any changes to it. The reason being is because when we click release on the purchase receipt, this is automatically bringing inventory into the specific warehouse that we specified at the line level. We will have to do some sort of return should we need to make any sort of changes to the quantity or to the document. But once we click this release button, we're not able to actually make changes to it. So if we look down here at the bottom, we have our quantity for 18 on hand, and our available is 18, and available for shipping is 18. If I go ahead and click this release button, what you'll see down here is the quantity automatically updated to 27. This is because we brought in 9 items on this particular purchase receipt. Now, if we needed to, so let's say we'll go back to our purchase order. So if this was an example where they shipped you 9, but you weren't going to receive the 10th one, what you would do here, back on the line level on the purchase order, you'll see there's this quantity on receipts. So it says that we ordered 9, but we have received 9 of them. And if we go to our PO history, we're going to see we have our purchase receipt that's connected to the PO with 9 here. If we scroll over here, there's a couple different ways that we can do this. So in this example, if they were going to ship us that last pallet, we would go in and we'd enter a new purchase order receipt. And when we do this, what we're going to see here is the receipt quantity this time is going to automatically be the difference. So this here has the receipt quantity of 1. So if there was 2 shipments and this here was the second shipment, this is how it would be brought in to our inventory. I'm going to cancel out of this action, and I'm going to go back. And let's say that they were not going to ship the 10th one, so we didn't need it anymore or whatever happened to it. So if we scroll over to the right, we have this option to automatically close out this line. So if there's multiple lines here, what this checkbox will do is this will allow us to be able to complete the line without having to receive that last one. So if I go ahead and click this checkbox for closed, what we can see is the status for this purchase order automatically goes to closed. The purchase order will remain open until all the items are accounted for. So whether that be all of the items are received into inventory or the line is manually closed out, this will close out this purchase order, and then it will be completed once the purchase receipt is billed. Now, let's say in this example, I'm going to go ahead and reopen this order. Let's say that they are going to go ahead and they're going to send us the last one. So let's say we need to enter in a new purchase order or a new purchase receipt. I'm going to go ahead and remove the closed checkbox and the completed checkbox. And if I save it and if I remove it from hold, now, as we see, we can enter the PO receipt again. So now I'm going to go in and enter this PO receipt. And here is where we'd enter again the quantity for the number that we received. If it was just one more that we were receiving, once we release this, then the purchase order would be closed out because all 10 were received. Now, let's say in this example that this quantity that they sent us is 2. So let's say they sent us 2 additional ones. And if we look here, the system is going to say that the receipted quantity is above the maximum quantity defined on the purchase order for this item. That's because they've shipped us an extra one. And so now if we go ahead and if we click save, again, our warning still shows. But if we go ahead and release this, we can see here we have the quantity for 27 changes to 29 because we have brought in that additional quantity. Going back to the purchase order that we've been working with for this purchase receipt, as we see here, we now have the status as completed because we have now received the entire quantity that we had ordered from them. As we see here now, our quantity on receipts is 11. Now let's say that we want to return one of these. So they sent us too many, we brought them into our inventory, and now we need to do a return for one of these quantities. Now I'm going to go ahead and click this return button. Once I select the line here that I want to return, I'm going to select whichever lines here we're returning. In this case, we just have one. I'm going to go ahead and click return. Now this creates a purchase receipt document. However, instead of receipt, the type is going to be return. So now we can enter the quantity that we are returning. So this here automatically is bringing in the quantity that we had on the previous receipt. So we brought in 2 on that last receipt, and this is going to say, okay, we're going to automatically return both of them. Let's say we just want to return one of them. We would enter the quantity of 1. We could save it. And then again, same thing as we saw before. As soon as you click this release button, this is going to automatically update the inventory in the system. So I'm going to go ahead and click this release button. And when I do that, our status goes from balanced and now it's released. So now we have issued this return. And then again, we can see the reference number that it's associated with both at the purchase order level as well as at the purchase receipt level. If you notice at the bottom, the quantity has changed from 29 to 28. Next here, if we just go back to our purchase order, I'm just going to do a refresh on our purchase order. If we go to the PO history, now what we're going to see is we are going to see each one of those actions that we just performed. So we're going to see the original receiving of 9. We're going to see the second receiving of 2. And then we're going to see the return of 1 item. If we wanted to go back to the second purchase receipt that we did for the 2 items, we can see here that we have the same items that we are just working with. So again, we're just going back and looking at the records. We have the purchase order associated with it. And then we have the quantity returned from this order, which was 1. Again, if we wanted to go to the orders, this would show us the purchase order, and we could go directly into the purchase order from this screen here that we were just looking at. So I hope this video helps, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.